intro today. Black man in trouble. We are doing the Diddy trial. The first day of P. Diddy's trial just wrapped up, and we are going to see everything that happened. So, for those of you unaware, the Diddler, as we call him on this channel, he's currently in he's in a bit of hot water. You see, the Diddler is arrested for allegedly sex trafficking and minors and baby oil and lots of other things. Lots of other things that are very not kosher. So I am very excited to lock in and see exactly what happened over this entire court case. So I want to cover this intensely. 10,000 likes and I will be covering every detail of this entire trial. So definitely let's see what happens. Now, I'm currently beefing with someone on the internet who went to Diddy parties. So I'm very excited to hopefully that guy gets brought up. We're not gonna mention his name in vain. But hey, lock in, boys and girl. Let's watch a fucking degenerate retard piece of shit go to jail. Yeah, the Diddler! Burden of proof, the case against Diddy. Wow, they're getting a whole intro for this. All right. I love watching the corrupt motherfuckers in Hollywood take L's. It just makes me happy. I'm Eva Pilgrim. Thanks for streaming with us. The highly anticipated trial against Sean Diddy Combs is now underway. It was a whirlwind day. A jury... Dude, I love... when the content is if you fuck around, find out. It's my favorite content, FAFO content. Was seated. Opening statements were delivered, and the first two witnesses, a male escort and a former security guard, were called. Male escort? Whoa, what? That's the witness. Wait. More on their testimony in a moment. There are no cameras allowed in court, but our ABC News team was inside watching, listening to it all. Prosecutors didn't hold back, laying out the government's case against one of the biggest names in entertainment. They say the public knew Sean Combs as Puff Daddy or Diddy, a businessman. True, Ellen DeGeneres liked him. Weird. Larger than life. The prosecutors argued. Dude, I love when the incredibly powerful, seemingly untouchable people get touched. That sounded wrong. But I absolutely love FAFO. I'm telling you, FAFO is my favorite thing. I live for FAFO. If you fuck around, you find out. This is like, this is everything that I wanted. Fuck yes. Cook him. There was a darker side to him, saying he used his trusted inner circle to run a criminal enterprise for decades, painting a picture of a controlling, manipulative, and violent Combs who allegedly forced victims into days-long drug-fueled sexual encounters. Whoa! That is way deeper than I thought they would go. Holy! I was sure that they were gonna be like, there were minors at parties that he threw. They're alleging that he forced people into sex dazes for days at a time? Reciprocal tariffs for real. Fucking destroy this man. If it's true. That prosecutors called freak-offs or wild king nights. The defense argued Combs is a complicated man, but said this complicated case. Mr. Combs, did you engage in sex trafficking many people and forcing them into freak-offs for multiple days in consensual sex orgies, including children? Listen, our client is complicated. His lawyer pointing to that disturbing video of Combs dragging and kicking then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, admitting it shows domestic violence, but arguing it is not evidence of sex trafficking. I mean, true, but it is domestic violence. I don't know if any of you saw this clip. This is basically him beating up and dragging his girlfriend across the hall. Domestic violence, but arguing it is not evidence of sex trafficking. Sitting behind Combs today, his mother and children. He brought his children to a rape trial? Dude's really trying to tug at the heartstrings of these people so much that he's willing to fucking ruin his children's life? That's fucked up, man. That is fucked up. Yeah, his kids aren't traumatized enough. They're not traumatized enough that their dad is in the news all over the place as one of the most pervasive alleged sex criminals of all time. This is crazy. He brought his children to his rape trial. I'm actually shocked. That's fucked up. All seen arriving at court, supporting Combs as he faces 5 counts, including sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. Combs faces a potential life sentence. He has denied all. FAFO. If you fuck around, you find out. Of these allegations. A jury of 8 men and 4 women will decide his fate. We'll break down what we know about each of them. There is a lot to get to after a jam-packed day in court. I want to get right to Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky, who was in court for this first official day of the trial. Aaron, opening statements began to break down these arguments. Lock it!
They really set the tone for the entire case. You mentioned the kind of Jekyll and Hyde portrayal by prosecutors, someone that the world came to know as Puffy or Puff or Puff Daddy or Diddy or Love somebody who was larger than life, who was a mogul in multiple industries, and yet who had a darker side. A lot of celebrities have an
I feel like you could take that to a racist place, for real.
entourage around them, Eva, but
I don't think Diddy's suicidal, by the way, guys. I don't think he's suicidal.
Sean Combs, according to federal prosecutors in their opening statement, operated as a criminal enterprise with trusted insiders whose goal was to coerce women into these drug-fueled sex performances. Some of them, prosecutors said, lasted for days and were referred to by Combs as freak-offs or wild king nights. And the defense sought to downplay these episodes.
All right, so that's the prosecution. The attack against him, dude, I thought that they were gonna get him for like sex trafficking. I didn't think it was gonna be like these giant rape parties. Holy shit.
Calling them the consensual threesomes of a celebrity who led a swingers lifestyle.
The defense says, bro, sex trafficking? There were threesomes, okay? Threesomes. Oh, this trial is gonna get so messy. Oh, it's gonna get so messy. I thought at least they would say it's like orgies, like giant parties where shit happened that wasn't like done on purpose or unconsensually. Threesomes? That is the craziest downplay of all time.
And though they conceded that Combs could be violent with women, even women that he was in a relationship with, they said he's not charged with being violent.
Bro, domestic violence is the defense. Bro, the defense is domestic violence. No, dude, that's crazy. Holy. The defense is like, Your Honor, he's domestically violent. But that's not what he's being charged for. And he brought his kids to this? When the defense's plan all along was saying he's domestically violent?
He's not charged with domestic violence, with assault even. They said he's charged with sex trafficking in what's depicted on the video in the Los Angeles.
They're gonna try to frame all the rape and all the alleged rape and all the alleged sex trafficking as just violence. That's the craziest defense I've ever heard in my entire life. This is the most insane defense of all time. They're gonna like show a video of some woman getting beaten up and be like, that's not sex trafficking, that's just assault. That's crazy. This is gonna be a wild ride. Oh, definitely subscribe for content because bro's 100% fucked, I think.
Hotel from 2016, and in other episodes they say may show Combs being violent but doesn't show him being a sex trafficker, and they say it wasn't part of any racketeering conspiracy as alleged.
This is a crazy defense. This is a sickeningly crazy defense. This guy admitted to being domestically violent and beating up women in court as a defense. Bro, dude, fuck, that's wild.
And we saw Sean Combs' family going into court today. Did he interact with them at all?
He did, right from the start. He came into court, Eva, all smart.
Obviously, it was to start. He brought them in so that they could tug at the heartstrings of the jury. It's the classic strategy. Listen, I'm Jewish, so I have 4,000 Jewish lawyer cousins. Everyone tells the defendants to bring their family to tug at the heartstrings of the jury.
Miles, as his eyes immediately locked on to his family seated in the second row, his sons and daughters, his mom, all there to support him. He blew them kisses in court, made gestures across his heart. But once the
It's so performative, it's crazy. It's so performative, it's insane. You get the prosecutor, he's beating up women and sex trafficking them, and he's just like, hi mom, my children, hearing about my escapades.
Opening statements began, Combs was much more dispassionate. At one point, as a man who says he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura while Sean Combs sat in the corner masturbating.
Dude, what the fuck happens in Hollywood? The cuck allegations? He pulled a sneako. He brought his kids to court so that he could describe how he's a cuck, and he paid someone to fuck his girlfriend? Holy shit.
Combs pushed his chair away from the defense table. His arms went down and he crossed his legs, listening impassively to all of this. At that point, when the male escort was testifying, his daughters left the room.
Yeah, no shit. Oh my God.
The first witness, former Intercontinental Hotel.
Again, I don't know what that proves exactly, other than that he has wild sex fantasies. Other than that, I don't know.
Security guard Israel Flores testified about responding to that now infamous incident, speaking with Combs and his ex-girlfriend, a key witness in this case, Cassie Ventura. How did Flores describe that day?
He set the tone by immediately, as the first witness, taking jurors back to 2016. It was March 5th when Flores said he responded to a call from hotel staff of a woman in distress on the 6th floor. He goes up the elevator. He sees Sean Combs sitting in a chair with what he described as a devilish stare. And Cassie Ventura clearly shaken. And he walked the jury through hotel security footage. Some of it that...
Bro pulled up the entire hotel security footage exactly where he beat up his girlfriend and shit. Oh my God.
The prosecutors played outright. Some of it that Flores had captured on his phone. And it shows the detail of what occurred. There is Cassie. She's in blue pants and a hoodie. She's not wearing any socks. She reaches into a bag at the elevator. And as she's putting on her socks, Combs comes barreling around the corner, knocks her down from behind, stomps on her.
What?
And the episode continues from there.
Bro, they had that on camera in court. And they didn't deny. That's, again, you have to realize the defense is, yes, he beats up women, but no, he's not a sex trafficker. That's the defense. That's horrifying.
And Aaron, I have to ask you, we are seeing these sketches of Diddy in court. He looks very different than how many may remember him appearing. Tell us how he looks.
Well, he's certainly much grayer. You know, we've seen him that way over his last few court appearances, but people who may be, tuning in and seeing him.
Bro aged 10 years in the last few months.
For the first time here at the onset of trial. He's not allowed to color his hair in jail while he's incarcerated, so he's gone gray, both his hair and his beard. He's thinner than we saw him, certainly than when he was first arrested, much less bloated than he appeared at that September date.
He was fat. He was a fat fuck, is what he's trying to say. He was a fat fucking fuck.
And he is right now impassive. And
that's part of the strategy, I think, to look in front of the jury like this poor, meager, weak man. A weak man, gray hair, aging and skinny.
Prosecutors have control describing what they say he did.
Aaron Katersky for us there. Aaron, thank you so much. Let's dig in deeper on who is in this 12-person jury that could decide the fate of Sean Combs, as well as the legal teams involved in this high-profile case. Here to break it all down for us is ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer, who's worked as a defense attorney here in New York City. You've also closely been following this case. You were in the courtroom today. Let's talk about this jury. 8 men, 4 women. What do we know about them?
So yeah, we actually know a lot. And as you pointed out, 8 men, and these are some of them. We know some of their jobs: massage therapists, retired telephone linemen. But aside from gender and employment, the other thing I want to focus on is age. We have a number of individuals who are over the age of 50. And the reason why I point that out is 2 things. One, it's pretty understandable. This is going to be a case that's going to last for 8 weeks. So you got to think about who can take that much time off.
8-week case. God damn, think of all the content. Yeah, Fafo, bro. I am going to fucking destroy this man. Dude, the fact that he goes out in court and he's like, yeah, I abuse women, but I'm not a sex trafficker. Like, what is even going on?
The other aspect of that as well is when you're talking about consent, we as defense attorneys seem to see a difference between young people and their understanding of consent and older people. So this may be
true. Old people might not be super into consent. Fuck, that's crazy. Oh, there's no way.
Benefit the defense to some degree. And of course, we have the women here as well for them.
They have a 74-year-old lady on the jury. Okay, the women are going to destroy him, by the way. I'm sure that, so the way a jury picking process works is that every lawyer essentially gets like 3 strikes, and they could strike out different jurors that they specifically don't want. I am sure that Diddy's lawyers struck out 3 women. I am certain that they absolutely did not want women on the jury.
And one age 74.
It's about the law, not preferences. Yeah, but the thing about a jury, again, I don't like the concept of a jury inherently, but that's like a Nux rant for another day. But realistically, the jury decides if he's guilty or not.
Why do you think these jurors were chosen?
So sometimes when it comes to choosing a jury, it's not just choosing who it is on the jury, it's eliminating those you don't want to be on the jury. For the defense, I think they believe that these are individuals that are not just going to be unbiased, but also maybe lean towards their favor. For the government.
Dude, nursing home employee and physician's assistant, they are going to destroy him.
They believe that based on the answers that these individuals gave, they're going to be able to achieve that conviction. So either side thinks they see someone favorable in this group.
Let's talk about the legal teams here. Let's start with the defense team.
Yeah, so we have some big names that you may know. Mark Edifilo, you might have known him from the XM Defense, where he represents Keith Raniere. Tenny Garagos, the last name may be familiar there as well. Mark Garagos' daughter. Alexander Shapiro is one of the appellate attorneys.
Jewish. He has a good team. There's a Jew on the squad.
And then here are some names that you might not know, or you may. Brian Steele.
He has 8 lawyers?
A bit of a famous defense attorney in Georgia, made even more famous in his defense of Young Thug. And Xavier Donaldson, a defense attorney who is very well known within the Southern District of New York here, as well as Manhattan, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. Anna, Jason, and Linda all rounding out the team as well and supporting the defense of Sean Combs.
I don't know, bro. That's 8 lawyers. Only 1 is Jewish. That's not a good statistic. I'll be real here. For a high-profile case, you need at least 50% of your lawyers Jewish, or you have no chance. L team, he's toast.
Okay, now we have to talk about the prosecution. This is the Southern District of New York.
Not a good ratio. That's only about 12.5% Jews. I'm just saying, you got to do your racial profiling a little better, Sean Combs.
I mean, they have a crazy high conviction rate.
Oh my God! Prosecution team is cooking.
What can you tell us about this team?
So I know about the Southern District of New York, both as a contributor and as a defense attorney. Yes, conviction rate about 90 to 95%. So we have the interim U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton. He's not actually at the defense table, obviously the prosecution table, but he is the head of the Southern District of New York. And then you have other prosecutors as well. But I want to skip down just real quick because you might recognize the name, Maureen Comey. She's actually one of the lead government prosecutors in this case.
Sorry. You see this attorney Mitzi Steiner? Jewish. We got this. It's over. It's over. Jewish prosecutor. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm making jokes. All right, don't take me too seriously here.
The daughter of James Comey. And this is an all-women's team here. I don't think that
Whoa!
But it seems very...
Dude, they got 8 women prosecutors for Diddy. That's crazy. 8 women prosecutors. Lord. Oh, he's so cooked. This is a personal vendetta. Holy shit.
Very powerful when they're arguing.
12% of the lawyers are responsible for 50% of the defense. That is a crazy comment, bro.
Case when there are so many female alleged victims in this trial.
Yeah, and let's talk about who we heard from
damn.
today. A male escort, a former security guard. What does this tell you, if anything, about the prosecution's plan here?
We have selected 8 Karens to destroy him.
2 things. One, they're laying the foundation for someone very important to testify. They want that video in, and they also want the individual who was allegedly forced to have sex with that male escort to be able to testify as to...
Wait. So one of the arguments is that this male escort had sex with someone unconsensually. Oh shit, that's a lot worse than I thought.
That event, that being Cassie. We believe, or I think it's probably easy to assume, that she'll be testifying, if not first thing tomorrow morning, then at some point in time tomorrow.
All right.
That could be...
Lock in, 10,000 likes, and I will be covering every morsel of this trial.
Since they're kind of like a strong, powerful witness, this is, as the prosecutor says, victim number 1, but it also could just be logistics because we know that she is pregnant, very much so, and they might want to just let her get in, out.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes absolutely 100% sense. If you have a pregnant witness, then you want them to go for it while you know that they're able to and not busy and not preoccupied. You want to get them out right away. Makes sense.
And get out as quickly as well.
Yeah, also you can't travel too late into your pregnancy, one of those things that we all know about. Today, Cassie Ventura's husband was actually seen leaving the courthouse. Tomorrow, we're expected to see her possibly take...
Cassie Ventura's husband. Can you imagine? Your wife is in court now claiming, well, with proof that she was beaten up by this guy, and he's using it as his defense. His defense is that he's abusive to women, but not a sex trafficker.
Stand herself. That's pretty early in a case, right?
So it depends on the strategy. I can see why that would be perceived early. This is supposed to be the star witness. Why wouldn't you want to lay the groundwork for more evidence first before you have the major witness? But when it comes to convincing people,
unless it's not the major witness. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. I want them to make it look like that they got their big guns out right away, but in reality, that's not their major witness. That's what I predict.
Convincing a jury, oftentimes recency, meaning getting that information out there first, and frequency, how often you talk about it, is a great way to lock in that information to a jury. And then, of course, just timing. Life for her means that just to start sooner rather than later.
Brian Buckmeyer, always helpful. Thank you so much.
My
As
pleasure.
Brian mentioned, the 12 New Yorkers selected for this jury will spend weeks in the courtroom hearing evidence from both sides. And joining me right now is Eric Rudish. He's not part of this trial, but he has spent decades researching juries with attorneys as a jury consultant.
All right.
Now, we know, Eric...
So jury consultants essentially, okay, so remember how I mentioned to you earlier that one of the things lawyers do before a case in front of a jury is that you'll have the 2 lawyers essentially sitting there side by side, and the jury will be there, and they each have 3 strikes, and they will strike out different jurors so that they could try to get a jury that they think is either unbiased or biased towards them, at least, right? So like they're gonna try their best. Like for example, as a hypothetical, if your client owns a restaurant and he's fighting for his defense, and you have somebody that works in a restaurant on the jury, they might be more sympathetic to your client. So the other lawyer is most likely going to strike out that person so that they won't be sympathetic to the defense. Like, that is that's what the jury selection is all about. So, and you have three instances to mark off specific jurors.
From court records that Diddy's team is using a jury consultant. When you work on a...
So every high-profile case gets jury consultants. It's basically people that are like really good at reading body language, people that can kind of intuit whether the jurors might be more inclined to be on your side or on the other side. That's what jury consultants basically are. It's like, imagine a super good poker player, right? The system sounds bad. I personally don't love the jury system, but it is what it is.
Trial like this one, how much do you really know about these jurors?
Well, you try to find out as much as you can, certainly. So based on the 12 jurors, the information we have, in addition to gender and age, as a jury consultant, we're also looking at their occupation. So are they going to approach this case more from an emotional standpoint or an analytical standpoint?
Yup.
And based on the 12 jurors' occupations, there are several jurors that are good for the prosecution. There's a social worker, there's someone who works...
Social worker, there's someone that works in an old age home, there's a nurse. That's what I looked at first as well. Because I figured a physician's assistant, that's what I looked at first. All those people, in my opinion, are probably going to be pretty anti-Diddy.
At a nonprofit, there's someone who works at a nursing home, but there are also more analytical jurors who are more likely to scrutinize the evidence.
The evidence and the claims.
Such as an investment analyst, a logistic analyst, and even a scientist.
Let's drill down into that a little bit more, since you were talking about their jobs and the jobs that they have. How do attorneys use that information as they make their arguments to play to these ideas that they have about these jurors?
So it's a very emotionally charged case, and the prosecution is going to use that,
It's not only emotionally charged, it's universally scrutinized. Everyone is talking and looking at this right now.
Element to help, prosecute their case. For the defense, they want jurors to separate the emotional aspect of the case, and you saw it from up front. The one theme is that whatever Sean Combs' actions were, it's separate from the charges that are being brought forth against him. So you want someone who could separate the emotional aspect about this case from the
analytical aspect,
from the evidence, or how they will approach the charges.
3 unconditional strikes. You can strike more by proving conflict or bias. I think it's weird that jurors are not anonymous for the lawyers. On the one hand, you're right that it's weird that jurors are not anonymous for the lawyers, but on the other hand, if, let's say, one of the jurors ends up being proven to be biased because they work in the same bar as the defendant, right? Or they know the guy, or they obviously have some sort of conflict of interest with this entire situation, that's not going to count for the 3 unconditional strikes that the lawyers have. So the lawyers have to kind of know at least the basic shit about the jurors to make sure that they're not actually biased on the case.
And whether or not they feel that John Coates is ultimately guilty.
Eric Rudish, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right.
Well, still ahead, the defense and prosecution gave an overview of their cases today.
Bro, we got the case overview. Oh, God.
What does that reveal about possible strategies, and how might they play with the jury? We break down the arguments.
All right, let's go. Bro, it's not in the same video? There's no way. Okay, all right, we're back. It was a commercial break. We're good. Biggest flexes in sex
trafficking. Back now to the
trafficking.
case against Sean Combs. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer is back with us.
All right.
Joining us, attorney and legal analyst Ebony K. Williams. Brian, let's start with you because you were in court today. What did you think of the prosecution's opening statements? Do you think it was compelling?
Lock in.
Oh, very compelling. I think it was good.
Oh, God! Opening statements are huge, by the way, because you immediately prime the jury into deciding immediately whether they are inclined to think that he's guilty or innocent. I know that it's not supposed to work that way. They're supposed to wait for evidence and stuff before they make up their mind, but humans are kind of shitty sometimes, and humans don't very often wait for evidence. So realistically, the opening statements are killers, for sure. They immediately prime the jury, and the jury will then be more or less skeptical of all the evidence based on the opening statement.
Good in the sense it was just under an hour, so I don't think people really drifted away. They
Jew commentary coming in hot.
were able to stay focused, start off with some good themes and also some good examples, talking about a night in which Sean Combs heard allegedly that Cassie was with another man, got an employee at the middle of the night at gunpoint, and a security guard rushed his person's house, broke in, and laid out how these intricate examples of Sean Combs flying off the handle, as they seemingly described, were parts of this racketeering conspiracy that he had.
Yeah, and they described it with so much detail at gunpoint in the middle of the night and with detail, and people will believe it, even though it's only an allegation. People will be inclined to believe a story with a lot of details. And if you keep filling up a case with so many instances Suddenly, all those points make a pattern. If he's been so efficient and consistent at setting up these questionably consensual sex operations, I don't know, maybe there is a racketeering conspiracy. Fuck, dude. That neighbor is guilty.
This inner circle that helped facilitate not only every want and need that he wanted, including his freak-offs, but also how he used them to control individuals around him, marching through each and every one of the elements in this case. It was easy to follow and very compelling.
Damn.
Ebony, what do you think of the defense's strategy?
Yeah, I think the defense did a lot of the things that they needed to do by way of conceding some obvious points, right? You can't
He beat up his girlfriends.
tell this newly sat jury of 12 that you didn't see what you saw on that tape, that horrific, traumatic, violent tape of Sean Combs violently attacking Cassie Ventura. So I think the defense was smart.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do there? Like, dude, they already know he's a monster. They already know he's a monster. Now the question is he also a sex trafficker?
To say, hey, if we were here for domestic violence, we wouldn't be here. He absolutely committed that act. He did so.
Bro, dude. Domestic violence is the defense. All these, I'm telling you, that's going to be the defense the entire time. That is going to be the defense the whole time. They're going to bring evidence of him causing injury to some woman somewhere, and they're going to be like, bro, it's domestic violence. That's not why we're here. Yeah, he beats up women. Yeah, he's cool like that. Whatever. We don't mess, but that's okay. They don't mind or something. Sometimes they do.
Some horrible things. He might even be perceived by many of you as a bad person, but it's not against the law to be a bad person. My client is not.
Dude! My client is not a nice guy. It is not illegal for him to not be a nice guy. Bro, they need to get some fucking white supremacists in the goddamn jury. I'm just saying. We need some white supremacists in the jury ASAP. We do. It's not illegal to be a white supremacist. It's not illegal to be racist. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
Being charged with domestic violence in this particular matter. Thus,
it's not illegal to beat up women.
This is a not guilty verdict. That's their argument.
But do you think it's problematic that they admitted, basically, that...
No, I think they had to, Eva.
Of course, there's video evidence, and here's the thing. There is going to be so much more evidence of women getting abused over the course of this trial, probably. They are going to need this to be the fallback every time. Every time it's going to be like, yes, he beat up that woman. It's domestic violence. It's not what we're here for. We admitted it already. We're past that. So they needed to admit to domestic violence on day one because, fucked up as it is, that's the defense.
I think, preserving credibility is going to be so key for both the prosecution and defense, right? So they had to try to earn some level of truth-telling points, if you will, with this jury. And I think they were able to do that by admitting the very, very obvious things we know so far.
Okay. So, Brian, as a defense attorney, obviously they're going to be trying to poke holes in the prosecution's case. Do you think they're going to lean into that?
I think that's the case.
Whoa, he just said it. He just straight up said it. Oh my God.
As laid out, you have to admit to some degree to garner credibility. You can't go and look at that video and be like, well, that's AI. That's not really our client doing that. And I think there's a strength in saying he is guilty of some things, but he's not guilty of anything. And I think Tenny Garagos, the defense attorney who did the opening statement, a very well...
Bro, the defense attorney's name is Garagos? That's awesome.
Reasoned, well-argued opening statement, said it's not about whether or not he's a bad person, it's whether or not the government or the prosecution has proven their case. Dude. And these are the allegations, these are the charges.
Dude, they're gonna paint every single instance where they bring evidence against him as, yeah, he's a fucked up guy. That's fucked up to women, but he's not a sex trafficker.
These are the elements, and
a lie is best told with some of the truth. You're right, for sure.
Juxtaposing and saying this is domestic violence, this isn't coercion, going to the heart of what sex trafficking and racketeering is, saying it's not this, it's this. This is what he's charged with.
Dude, I'll be real. If they pull up a dozen videos of him beating up women or some shit, I don't know why. I don't know why it's like, oh well, let's let him back into society.
Not this, not guilty. I think it was the only argument that could be made.
Okay, the name of the show is called Burden of Proof. So what is the burden here?
Yeah, it's a clear and very, very difficult one, actually, if you're the prosecution. They have to prove beyond any reasonable doubt, keyword, there is a reasonable doubt, that Sean Combs is guilty of everything Brian laid out, from the racketeering, the coercion.
It is definitely difficult to prove. They're not trying to prove that he's a murderer. They're not trying to prove that he's beat up women. That we know. But, yeah, proving without a reasonable doubt that he's a sex trafficker. Yikes, they're going to need some really intense shit.
Sex trafficking and all of it. And
especially because if you realize that their defense is, yeah, he beats up women, it's like, Damn.
You know, they're going to have a lot of elements to meet. And again, the more the defense can convince that this is one private citizen's sexual proclivities that may be out of bounds to us, you and I, common man and woman, but this is within his legal right and it's not against the law to have these sexual preferences. The more they can make that, the prosecution is further and further from their burden of proof. But if, as also Brian said, the prosecution can successfully land the plane of connecting dots, right, between sexual assaultive behavior, the abusive
That's what I said. Enough points, you make a pattern.
Behavior, and individuals, that's going to be key, right? Other individuals working in a connection and in collaboration with Sean Combs to execute that under coercive measures, that is how you get to guilty.
Ebony K. Williams, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you both so much. Coming up,
Someone in my chat just said they're going to show him raping somebody and the defense will be like, it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. Yes, he's a rapist, but he's not a sex trafficker. Fuck.
Music mogul on trial, the cultural impact and public perception as Diddy's trial begins.
Take that cross off your goddamn neck.
And his former girlfriend.
I'm not even Christian, but I'm offended.
And prepares to take the stand.
That's crazy. All right. One more segment for day one, I guess.
It's no surprise there's extreme public interest around the world in the Diddy trial as testimony gets up.
I mean, let's be real. I am interested, for sure. I do like the idea of the really creepy, satanic, fucking pedophile Hollywood cabal ring or whatever falling apart. I love that, dude.
Underway. So what are people saying? For that, we turn to Kelly Carter, who covers entertainment and pop culture for us. Kelly, we heard it from prosecutors how Combs created this empire and that the public saw him as a larger-than-life cultural icon. Yet prosecutors say there was this other side to him. He's pleaded not guilty to all the charges. The interest is crazy, though. We've got to talk about the lines outside the federal courthouse this morning.
Oh,
said it was more than a block long.
Bro, a block long line. That's crazy.
One guy was in the front of the line trying to scalp his seat for $350.
Oh my God, dude. They were scalping seats in court? Oh my God, dude. Someone in my chat just said they have this, all right, as a joke. They have a video of him raping an unconscious woman. The defense, she's not actually drugged. He merely knocked her out. Good defense, good defense.
Have you ever heard of such a thing?
Bro, stadium tickets to this. That's insane.
I have never heard of such a thing as someone trying to scalp a ticket to go inside of a courtroom. I have seen, and we all have seen, fandom, you know, line up with signs in support of people. I remember covering that 2009.
Bro, who has signs in whoever has a sign in support of Diddy would immediately lose my respect instantly. It doesn't matter. Okay, dude's a piece of shit. He beats up women. All right, the defense is he beats up women. Okay, that's the defense. All right, what are we talking about?
And Chris Brown assault case out here in Los Angeles, and I was met with just hundreds of fans who were outside with those fans and support, signs in support of Chris Brown, but never someone waiting in line trying to pawn off a ticket as if this is Star Wars. You know, this is something we've never seen before.
I'm curious too, when it comes to Diddy's public image, does the verdict in this trial really matter, or is the damage to his reputation already done?
I think the damage is significant, and quite frankly,
what? Yes, the damage is done. There is no way anyone could ever respect him. Oh my God.
I think that the court of public opinion is ultimately going to weigh so heavily.
Dude, he admitted in court to beating up a woman on day one of the trial. Day one of the trial, he admitted in court to beating up a woman, beating a shit out of his girlfriend.
You know, if he is found not guilty of these charges, I don't think that we should all imagine a world where he goes back to business as usual, because I think we know too much. And that's kind of the sentiment, I think, of a lot of people who've been paying attention to today's testimony and who read anything going into today's testimony. We know too much, and people are going to have very strong feelings about the things that they've discovered about him.
Kelly Carter, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Burden of Proof, the case against Diddy.
That was
we'll be
crazy.
back with new episodes every day of the trial, bringing you the latest from the courtroom, plus live analysis from experts and contributors.
Good
the
shit.
Show
that was actually really
here
good.
On ABC News Live, Disney Plus, and Hulu at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Eva Pilgrim. Have a good night.
That was actually really good. 10,000 likes and I will be doing day two. And we will keep going. This is crazy. I'm excited to see the House of Cards fall down. I am excited to see the giant Hollywood cabal of pedophiles and sex traffickers and Satanists and shit, allegedly. I would like to see that fall apart. It makes me happy. Personally, I believe in the sentiment of FAFO. You fuck around, you find out. Thank you for joining today's episode of FAFO. FAFO is glorious. I approve of FAFO. I do. FAFO is great. Anyone that doesn't support FAFO, you could FAFO. Stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.